Hello, everybody. My name is Patrick Blaney. I'm in charge of the MSc Aviation Finance program, and I have a brief presentation about the program, which I'll show you now, and we'll have questions afterwards. So air travel, despite what's happening in the time of COVID, is part of the global infrastructure. It's how we connect around the world in this day. It is the most efficient in terms of both time, economic resources and otherwise to go long distances. And it utilizes the aircraft, which is the ultimate man-made machine. It's a combination of high-tech engineering, high-tech IT, because many of its systems are computerized. It's high-tech in terms of its communication capabilities. It's a complex and the ultimate man-made machine. This is a Lufthansa Airbus A321 aircraft. Our program has all of the leaders of the industry participating in it. Our sponsors are the major aircraft leasing companies of the world, KPMG and Safran, which is a partner with GE in CFM International, which makes all of the engines on the narrow-body aircraft. We're connected with our Chinese lessors through CDB Aviation, ICBC, BOCOM. We're also connected with Citibank as one of the leading aviation finance organizations. And we have IBA as a partner on our program too. They are one of the leading consultancy and appraisal companies. The team is myself. I joined UCD back 5 years ago to launch the program, now in its 5th year, after a 35-year career, ending up as the chief executive of the business, which is now AirCap. Professor Tom Conlon is the academic director of the program, a very experienced professor of banking in UCD. And Joy O'Hora, who you will talk to later, is the program manager who keeps our program connected to the students. We expect in a typical year that we have approximately 40 students. It can be as high as 45 and as low as 35. And that's a combination of full-time and part-time students. Our students come from all over the world, from China, from India, the Middle East, the United States, Europe. They come with diverse backgrounds in engineering, economics. We've even had a rocket scientist, a true rocket scientist. And it also includes a number of people from within the industry who are upskilling. It's a 1-year full-time intensive program, or it can be done on a part-time basis over 2 years. And the objective is to give you the knowledge you need about the planes and financing of planes to kickstart a career in aviation financing. So where are we today? Today, we are in a situation where air traffic is 50% of where it was in 2019 because of COVID, because of government-related restrictions, principally on air travel, all designed to prevent the spread of that deadly virus. But we're also at a period where we're starting the vaccination program, and sometime in 2021, the balance will revert back to removal of restrictions and recommencement of air travel. But in the meantime, we've had 2 years of significant restructuring in the business. Airlines, even the best airlines, are being forced to restructure to the new normal, which is a smaller network, smaller fleets. They're reinventing the core business, and regrettably, because they've had to borrow large amounts of money from government and from their shareholders, they have now got a far higher cost of capital than they had before. So the lessors, which is where most of our industry is located, they've been taking steps for years to make sure that they were best positioned for any possible downturn. They have the best, latest technology aircraft. They're very well capitalized. And in the markets, in the last couple of months, we've seen enormous amounts of money being financed in the capital markets, because the capital markets believes that the lessors are the strongest capitalized and best placed to finance the coming aeroplane requirements of the airlines. Up to COVID, air traffic doubled every 15 years. And that demand was driven by a wealthier world, a significant growth in the middle classes, increased urbanization, most particularly in Asia. In 2019, 100 million new passengers flew on a plane for the first time. In Ireland, we don't see that to quite the same extent because we're a small country. But countries like China and India saw huge numbers of additional millions of passengers every year, a lot of which got on a plane for the first time because of its low cost. There are two main suppliers, but increasingly China is emerging as a major supplier into this industry. It already supplies many products to Boeing and to Airbus, but now the Comac 919 and other models are emerging as replacements and competition for the Airbus and Boeing products. So you'd wonder in a world of environmental considerations what the problem is with air travel. Air travel is about 2% of global emissions. It's growing fast, so that 2% will grow if nothing changes. But what is changing is that the latest technology aircraft are 15% more fuel efficient and emissions efficient than their predecessors. So the industry has made enormous steps to reduce its environmental footprint and continues to do so. This is Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 MAX, which has just returned to service after 15 months where it has been grounded because of a technical problem with the aircraft. So post-COVID, there is a new model. We don't quite know what it looks like now, but there's definitely a change in the air travel business. A significant number of today's airlines will not survive. They'll restructure or disappear. But there's already, I can count 30 significant new airlines being launched principally in Asia, principally low cost, some low cost carriers. But as of today, there's a significant overcapacity of aircraft in the marketplace, and it will take some time for that to be eliminated. So the lessors in advance of COVID had already moved to the latest technology, most in-demand aircraft. And the aircraft that they had in their portfolio were leased to the best customers on long, non-cancelable lease terms. So most of their business has continued pretty much as before, although they've had to make concessions to the airlines to help the airlines through this unprecedented black swan 1 in 100-year event. They have the ability to cope with airline failures and to place their aircraft elsewhere around the world as required. So I'll predict an uncertain future by saying people want to travel. Traffic will recover. I took 28 flights last year in 2019. I took 1 flight in 2020. And I will be back in the air once the opportunity recovers. And in my opinion, the recovery in air travel, once it begins, will happen quite quickly. The oversupply situation will resolve itself in the next, between now and 2024, perhaps 2025. Airline capital costs have increased because they're now so heavily borrowed. And airline leasing will become the dominant form of financing in the airline industry going forward. So talking about Smurfit, what are we doing and why did we start our MSc Aviation Finance? We did so because the global headquarters of aircraft leasing is in Dublin in Ireland. More than half of the entire fleet of leased aircraft, which is some 13,000 airplanes, are owned in Ireland. And not only is the aircraft lessors based here, but we have a capital markets, legal, accounting, and tax infrastructure essential for high-tech financial businesses that also exists to support the industry in Ireland. And part of that infrastructure is the UCD Smurfit program, which was industry-led, industry-designed, and has been industry-supported to date. They tell us what they want in terms of the content of the program. They tell us the kind of skills that they want the students to acquire while they're here, and so that they can hire them. And they see UCD Smurfit and this program as being the place where the next generation of aircraft leasing leadership are educated. Aviation finance requires a pretty broad skill set. It's not just marketing, it's not just legal, it's not just finance, it's not just technical. If you think for a minute that an aircraft operating in Malaysia can be owned in Ireland, financed in the US, have investors from France, and be operating between markets as diverse as China to the east and London to the west. So an aircraft asset operating in a global market has lots of complexities. It's a long life asset. The cheapest airplane costs $50 million. The most expensive airplane costs more than $200 million. They have a 20 to 25 year life, and it's in a highly regulated industry that operates in multiple jurisdictions. So for all those reasons, you need to have a broad skill set to be successful in the world of aviation finance. It's an industry that is small in terms of absolute numbers. There is only 26,000 airplanes in the world. There are only 700 or 800 airlines post-COVID in the world. But every single one of those assets is high in dollar value, and relationships, as in most industries, are very important. The core modules I've listed here, maths, capital markets, taxation, how an airline operates, aviation finance too, which is how airplanes get financed, law, doing business globally, all important skill set to have. This is showing the difference between a 737, which is a narrow body aircraft, and an A380 in Qantas. And as you can see, the fuselage size of the 737-800 aircraft is about the same size as the diameter of an individual engine on the A380. The airplane on the left costs $50 million. The airplane on the right costs more than $200 million. So air travel, what's my prediction? As Arnold Schwarzenegger said, it'll be back. It's a global industry. It's got very high value assets, complex airline customers. It's fast moving and dynamic. It's located in Dublin, and the education is based in Smurfit. And here's a few links which we can send you a copy of this presentation, and you can talk to our colleagues in admissions about the opportunities available to come and study at Smurfit. So that's my presentation, and I would like to open the floor for questions, which I think one of my colleagues will be coordinating on our behalf. I'm going to stop sharing the presentation and you'll be able to see all of us again.
Hi everybody, my name is Joy O'Hora. I'm the Programme Manager for MSc Aviation Finance. I'd like to thank Patrick for a wonderful presentation, not just information about the programme, but about the industry itself. I think we'd all agree that was very, very interesting. So if you have any questions, we're here for you this afternoon. There's nothing here in the Q&A at the moment, but my email address is joy.ohora@ucd.ie. So I can answer any questions that you have or do a quick Zoom call with you. If you have any questions about doing the programme part-time, and Owen can maybe speak to perhaps the scholarships that we offer. So it's a really dynamic programme, and it's a great bunch of students. They really gel, and despite the fact that we've been online since March 12th, the feedback has been very, very positive.
Like among the things which in the course of the last semester, Stephen Kavanagh, who's the former chief executive of Aer Lingus, is teaching a module on airline operations. So you learn about how airlines operate. Obviously, his former boss and colleague, Willie Walsh, who's now was the chief executive of IAG Group, is now the new incoming director general of IATA, which is the global airline industry body. He gave a talk at the end of December to the class. And we have, in the course of this semester, next month, we'll be getting a day virtual presentation. In the past, we've always gone to Toulouse to visit Airbus, but this year, because of COVID-related restrictions, they're going to deliver a virtual tour of the Toulouse facility and meeting all of the various peoples online. And we hope in 2021, 2022, to get back to Toulouse to see that wonderful facility and to show aircraft manufacturing at its best.
Thank you, Patrick. I have one question here. It's from an anonymous attendee, but very welcome. Do you need a strong maths background for this program?
Okay, so if you've got Leaving Cert Honours Maths, you will be plenty capable for taking our program. It doesn't require PhDs in mathematics. I would be reasonably mathematical myself, but I'm not a great Excel expert. So maths is important that you understand it, but you don't need to be a genius.
Thanks, Patrick.
Hi, can I just jump in there just from an admissions perspective? Hi, folks. Thank you very much for joining the session today. My name is Owen from the admissions team in Smurfit. I suppose just with respect to, entry requirements, and Patrick has touched on it there. I suppose you don't need PhD level maths, as Patrick says, is spot on. But we look to see that you would have a strong ability in a quantitative area, and if you can demonstrate that through your undergraduate degree or honours Leaving Cert level maths, we will absolutely take a look at you. We have a session at 4 o'clock today that looks at, but from the admissions team. So if anybody'd like to join the admissions presentation, and we'll talk about, I suppose, all things that are admissions related, entry criteria, and anything else that anybody would like to ask us about, you're more than welcome.
That's fantastic. I have another question here from Patrick Prendergast. Hello, Patrick. Is a career in aviation finance very accounting based?
And no, actually, well, I am a qualified chartered accountant. And the last time I practiced as an accountant was in 1983 when I joined GPA. I think it's important to understand numbers and have an accounting understanding, but it's not essential. A lot of people got into the business through accountancy.
That's really interesting. And that leads me to my next question, please, Patrick. This comes from Colin. Hi, apart from airline leasing companies, are there job opportunities with other companies? I think that means maybe other areas within the space.
Yeah, like there are a number of them. If you look at the graduates who have left us, some have gone into consultancy. A number have joined some of the big, Accenture has a practice that deals with aviation. McKinsey has a practice that deals with aviation. A number of different consultancy companies, and they have hired people who've graduated from our program. Airlines have hired people from our program, and airlines are increasingly sending people on our program. We have today 2 students, one from Ethiopian Airlines in Addis Ababa in Africa, and we have 1 student from China Southern Airlines, which is one of the big 3 in China. So we're seeing people go into the airline business, we're seeing people go into the consultancy business, and we're seeing people going into the aviation finance business. And one of our graduates is now working for an infrastructure financing company based in Dublin. So the same skills that apply to aircraft financing would tend to apply to big ticket equipment or property financing or power station financing. So infrastructure financing would be a complementary skill set.
That's fantastic, Patrick. You've obviously got the interest going here, because my next question is, when is the closing date for this master's? To you, Owen, perhaps?
Yeah, I'll take that. No problem, Joy.
Thank you.
We assess applications on a rolling basis. I suppose this program, I would say, is highly competitive, and we have limited numbers of seats. So what I would suggest, or if you haven't made an application, is to make it sooner rather than later. Look, as Patrick says, that the class size will be in the region of 35 to 45 students. So again, giving us the nature of the program and the speciality focus, it would tend to fill up relatively quickly. So again, I urge you, if you haven't made that application, look, to sit down over the next couple of days and put it together and get it submitted, and then we'll get back to you as quickly as possible.
Thank you so much, Owen. I think that's everything from the Q&A space here. But if you have any other questions, of course, you can email me anytime.
And Joy could send you a copy of the presentation if anybody wants it, just for their information. I apologize for the slightly older picture of Arnie Schwarzenegger, but I'll be back. This industry will be back. It's on its knees at the moment. It will be back.
Absolutely. I think that's it then. Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you, Owen, and thank you to all of our participants. We really look forward to hopefully seeing you in September, hopefully in person. And thank you all so much for your time this afternoon.